guys, what is going on? Blasters back. Welcome back to the episode of Top Drives. I don't do this often, but I am reviewing a pack that isn't tied to a Tri-Series or an Apex or a special tag collection or anything like that. And the reason why I don't do this often is because there are not a lot of packs that interest me, that wows me anymore. But today, we do have a pack where I think, you know what? It doesn't matter if this carbon fiber isn't tied to any big shot event. It's pretty damn good. And that's the carbon fiber that's tied to the roasting rubber event. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed yet, but the requirements are 1980s to 1999 hatchback, which doesn't really seem like much. But then you look at the car pool, right? So you select that, and you look at the cars, and most of them are prize cars. I get that. But when you click all cars, and then you go and filter by non-prize, it's really quite decent. All the legendaries are really good. They're four-wheel drive off-road tire cars, besides the Lancia ECV, which is a four-wheel drive slick tire car that shares the same 0 to 60 as a Dodge Demon, but has 88 handling as well, and is ridiculously light. So those are all really good. The epics are fantastic. We're talking about ultra rares that used to be, epics that used to be ultra rares, like the Peugeot 306 Maxi and the Visa 1000. Now, I disagree with a lot of the ultra rares that have gone epic in the most recent car correction change. But if there were a few epics where I kind of don't disagree with, where I kind of look at them, I'm just like, yeah, they always deserve to be, an epic. It would be things like the Citroen Visa 1000 and the Peugeot 306 and the Holden Fiji. 2 out of 3 are in this category right here that you can unpack. On top of that, the Citroen Zara kit car is great, Ford Escort is great. So there's a lot of good things, and I do want to dive into a little deeper review on all of these cars, and just to let you guys know if this is a pack that, it's probably worth opening. The thing is, if you have a little bit of gold lying around, I know that there's a new update coming around the corner, but I just can't imagine the cars in that update being as useful as the ones in this current pack that you can get from the 1980s to 1999 hatchback carbon fiber. Okay, now I just realized what I just said. It might be wrong, because in a brand new update, every single car is going to be useful for about 3 months. But after that, so what I would say, just to reiterate, is that, the cars coming in the new update, I don't think they'll have the same longevity as the cars in this pack. That's the thing about this pack that makes it so special, and that's the reason why I wanted to make a video on this pack today. A lot of these cars have withstood the test of time. They're not necessarily new cars, but they're still useful till today. So let us get into it. Here are the ranks. We've got Der Kaiser, rightly rated, requires some criteria, special tag, challenge, and Robin's Wonderful plus and minus 3 RQ. Now, before we start grading the cars, I want to give you guys a couple fun facts. The first one is this. There is no performance tire car that you can unpack from this pack that goes below 79 handling, or that goes below 80 handling. The lowest handling car that you can get for a performance tire car that is ultra and above in this pack is 80. So that's a pretty decent start, considering that most of these cars are four-wheel drive. The fact that it has 80 and four-wheel drive is pretty good already, because there are a lot of four-wheel drive cars in Top Drives that are still ultra rare that go below 80 handling. We're talking like 76, 77, 78, and honestly, if you have that kind of handling in your four-wheel drive, I'm most likely, and you're not a dragster specialist, most likely going to put you in Robin's Wonderful plus and minus 3 RQ. Like that's most likely going to be a very terrible car. That being said, let us begin. So the Audi S3 BL, requires a special tag challenge. A lot of these Lancias, I know is not the strongest start, but then again, we're starting with the RQ50s for crying out loud. They're not terrible, right? They are utilitarian, if that is a word, because it's four-wheel drive, it's versatile basically. Four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance, and they get 90 handling when you fully upgrade for the both Lancias. For the Audi S3 it will be 89, but 90 handling for both the Deltas over here. So I think the Deltas, you can't really go wrong with a Lancia Delta. These are pretty lightweight cars with medium ground clearance, four-wheel drive, and they're versatile and they handle well. They're not dragsters, but they are commendable enough to be using on a wet, twisty, or even a medium ground clearance track like a city street or a city street small or anything like that. Another thing to consider is that the Italian wet meta isn't that huge, right? When you think about Italian standard tire cars, for the longest time, it was just the Quattroporte, the Maserati Quattroporte. That's the only ultra rare standard tire car for the longest time, and that's the reason why I have 2 of these cars fully upgraded. I don't even use them anymore because in the most recent update, not the most recent, but in one of the more recent updates, we got things like the Kamal. So the Kamal made, headway into the standard tire niche for the Italian cars. as well as the other Alpha. I believe it's a Julia. Let's see if I can find it with 89 handling. So yeah, that being said, even though those two cars were thrown into the mix and you have things like the 164 Proteo and stuff like that, there's still not a lot of cars that you can utilize for the Italian wet meta compared to other countries. Think about Japan, for example, where almost everything is four-wheel drive standard. Even the Americans, they've got quite a decent amount of, you know, four-wheel drive standard tire cars that you can use as well. Like the Ford Flex, right? That's one of the many cars. Anyway, so the Lancias, I still think that they're pretty decent bargains considering that they're all RQ50, at least these lower ones here, and then they get better and better. Like this one, for example, is 6083, this one is 5983, so they get slightly better. They skew up in RQ, which makes sense. The Stradale is also pretty decent. So where would I rank the other Lancias? I guess we'll go through all of them really quickly. Again, this is all my personal opinion. I gotta say that for every time I do a video like this. But we're gonna put the Lancia Integrale Evolution and require some criteria as well as the Stradale. Main reason is because the Lancia Integrale Evolution 2, that is like one of the best four-wheel drive Lancias in its niche compared to everything that you see here. That's probably one of the best. And then the Lancia Delta S Stradale is because I want to say that they're from different updates, but I want to confirm this. So this is no, they're both Italian Renaissance. No, driver's choice. That's not. Okay, so this is Italian Renaissance. This isn't Italian Renaissance. So yeah, you can use this in an Italian Renaissance event. It would be really good for that. And then you can use this if there is no Italian Renaissance tag. There is another Lancia that I do want to talk about, which is the Hyena. That's Amalfi Coast Cruising, which you can use in another Italian update. Basically, like, think about an Italian update segregated in different chapters of Italian updates. Hyena is the best to use across the board, but the Delta is still a pretty decent option. And if it's only restricted to Italian Renaissance, then you want to use the Delta S Stradale. Again, we're all talking within this ultra rare bubble, okay? We're not talking about if we can use epics or legendaries or anything like that. Moving on, the Fiat Seicento Rally Spec. Robin's Wonders World of plus or minus 3 RQ. This is one of the few ultra rares where I think, you know what, it should have stayed a super rare. Handling on this thing is really bad. It's really bad. So much so that when it comes to the Seicento, I have one fully upgraded. I didn't even bother maxing the handling. I went drag spec instead because I kind of wanted to focus on the car's biggest strengths, which is it's low-ish 0 to 60. The handling was already so far gone. For example, this is 80, and then you've got the Super Air, which is the Stillo, which is 86. So they're both front-wheel drive, and they're both like medium ground clearance and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the Seicento definitely doesn't deserve to be an ultra in my opinion. So that's one of the worst cars of this pack. Moving on is the Citroen Visa Trophy. Again, this one's a little bit tough. I'm also going to put it in Robin's Wonders World plus or minus 3 IQ. Both cars used to be super rare, they went up to ultra rare. I think that was an overcorrection. I think these two would be fine as a 48, maybe even a 49. The Ford Sierra RS500 requires a special tag challenge. It's medium ground clearance, yes, and it has that 80s niche. It is 92 handling when you max it out, which is also pretty nice. But honestly, this was a car that was very useful during the beginning of top drives, but I don't use it that much anymore. So I'm going to put it in requires special tag challenge. I don't think it's a bad car. I think it's an okay 52. Maybe would be a good 51 if it went down by one. But overall, it was a really useful car back in the day. Nowadays, you don't see a lot of use for it anymore. Citroen Saxo Super 1600. I mean, that thing is fantastic. This thing is like 90, I want to say 94 MRA. That's the other thing I want to talk about. So we talked about fun fact number one, which was, you know, there was no performance tire car that went below 80 handling. Fun fact number two, let's look at the MRA numbers. So these are all the best MRA cars in this pack, and the Citroen Saxo, I believe, is number 2 or number 3. I'll have the image on the screen. You should be seeing it on the screen right now when I edit the video. Moving on, Nissan Polestar Mazda Familia Sport. Okay, so we're talking about the Japanese cars. Let's put them all together, actually. So these two Japanese cars, they're basically like Japanese equivalents of the Lancias, right? They all have four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance, they're all lightweight, and they all go above 80 handling. The thing, though, is that they have lower 0 to 60s, which boosts their RQ a little bit, but they aren't dragsters by right? So honestly, I'll put them in special tag challenge. The Pulsar and the Familia. The Familia, I'll bring it up by 1 just because it's just slightly better. Then the Mazda 323 GT Turbo four-wheel drive, which is rightly rated. That car is fantastic, by the way. You can use it on, I think it's a specialist for the slalom, the wet slalom, because the 323 GT is such a lightweight car. It's four-wheel drive, it's very nimble, it handles well. It's going to be a very useful car in those scenarios. You can also use it in things like the G-Force and the car park, and it will do very well for you. So the 323 GT, that's a good cars unpack. We got the Ford Escort RS Cosworth coming up next, and I'm going to put that here and requires some criteria, mainly because it's a slightly better version of the Sierra, but it keeps its strongest traits. I think the Sierra's strongest trait is that it's medium ground. It balances medium ground clearance with good handling, 83, and the RS Cosworth has that as well, medium ground clearance and 83 handling. And on top of that, has a lower 0 to 60 and it's 4-wheel drive. So I'm going to put that in requires some criteria. Very similar to the Lancia Delta Integrale Evolution when you look at these two side by side. Moving on is the Peugeot 206 T16. Again, I'm going to put that in requires some criteria. It is a pretty decent car. Once again, very similar. I mean, think about these three cars all as one little pack. The Lancia, the Ford Escort, the 205. They're all slightly better than each other in different ways, and they all serve different niches. Lancia Delta, Italy, right? Ford Escort, British, and of course the Peugeot 205, the French, all within their own little, 1980s or 1990s niches. And the thing about, this decade that I do enjoy is that usually when you get a brand new update, they're focused on newer cars. We're talking like the 2010s, the 2020s, that kind of stuff, right? There are not many cars that you can add that are within that ultra rare range. They're from the 90s and especially from the 80s as well. So it is an advantage for these cars because they compete with way smaller pulls than cars from the 2010s and the 2020s. Think about it now. Audi, for example, in the 2010s, right? Everything is 4-wheel drive. Everything is medium ground clearance. They're like 100 million Audis and Bentleys and whatever that you want to compete with out there. But when it comes to these Lancias and the Peugeots, they're more of a bubble of their own, right? There are not a lot of those 4-wheel drive performance tire cars back then. We got the Skoda Felicia kit car that comes up next. This is fantastic. It's a great rallycross medium car. Great car to use in sand conditions, I'm pretty sure, as well. And it's just a great car to use for clubs. Handles really well. Front wheel drive. Used to be an Ultra. Went up to an Epic for a bit. Hut realized that they overcorrected it too much. Then they brought it back down to an Ultra Rare. I hope they do the same thing for these two, the Seicento and the Visa. They used to be super rare. They're having their stint in the Ultra category now, but they really should go back down, honestly. The Renault Sport Clio Williams Maxi kit car comes next. That's going to be a special tag challenge car, unfortunately. It was a fantastic ultra rare, and I think that it would do really well if it was an RQ64, but now that it's an RQ65 and it competes with epic off-roaders instead of, ultra rare off-roaders, it's very hard for me to make a case with the Clio Williams. I really wish if this was RQ64, it would be Der Kaiser, but that's crazy, right? How one rarity change, one RQ can make all that difference. But that's the thing, that one little RQ, that one little upgrade in rarity from B to A means that a car goes from costing 15 super rares to max to 15 ultra rares to max. So that is a very, very big difference. We have the Mazda Lancer Super Touring coming up next. I'm going to say requires some criteria. This is the car with the best MRA that you can get from the pack. Very, very nice. 100 handling when you fully upgrade that car, and it's very lightweight. It is one of the better, if not one of the best, RQ65s that you can unpack. If you watch 2 of my episodes from the best car from every RQ for a track set, you would know that the Lancer is the best RQ65 option for both those episodes, which was the fast circuit and the forest road. There's no other RQ65 that beats this on those 2 track sets, and that's only 2 track sets, right? There are other track sets where the Lantis is very, very powerful on. That being said, the most and the highest I can rank it would be require some criteria because it is an RQ65 at the end of the day. Okay, moving on is the Renault R5 Maxi Turbo. I'm going to put that in the same place with the Lancers as well. A car that has withstood the test of time. It's a very good looking car, I would say as well. A lot of people gave me slack because I said that the Renault 5 was ugly, the new one. I think it is. I mean, compared to stuff like this, the R5, which is so much nicer. I know that the new Renault 5 is trying to pay homage to, this very car right here. I just think that it fails. I think this thing is just, you can't beat that. Now, moving on is the Peugeot 306 Maxi. I'm going to put that in rightly rated. Now, this has also gone up from Ultra to Epic, much like the Renault Clio. But the difference is that, the Clio doesn't really perform very well against other epics of its niche, but the 306 Maxi, I mean, it's still very good. I mean, if you want to know, look at how it performs on a hairpin road, for example. It still beats, epics above its RQ, which is crazy. It's not just treading water, it's doing pretty well as an RQ69, and it's still a very, very useful car till this day. I'm currently using the 306 Maxi in the event right? In this current event for roasting rubber. I mean, my current hand, although 7.3 ain't great, one of the strongest cars in my arsenal right now is my 306 Maxi. It's so good that even though it's an epic, I've decided to max it out anyway. It's a fantastic car. We got the Zara kit car coming up next. That's going to be Dark Kaiser. It's medium ground clearance, and it's got great handling and great MRA for what it is. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, how are you ever gonna say that the Renault Sport Clio Williams is worth upgrading when you have things like the Citroen Zara kit car, right? The thing about the Peugeot 306 Max is that most of the cars that are better than this are prize cars. But these two, I mean, they're direct competitors, and they're both non-prize cars, which is crazy. Okay, to be fair, most of the cars that are better than 306 Maxi are prize cars, but not all of them. They're things like the Chevrolet Cruze, for example, which is a better option. But I think, okay, I don't know if my memory is fading, but I think that the 306 Maxi still beats the Cruze on the hairpin road. I know it hits above its weight. I just forget how much it hits above its weight. The Citroen Visa 1000 Pistas, this comes next. That's going to be rightly rated as well. Fantastic for any kind of slalom. Snow slalom, sand slalom, ice slalom, grass slalom, just not gravel, right? Dirt slalom, dirt wet slalom, still pretty good there too. It's fantastic. It's so lightweight, it's so nimble, four-wheel drive, off-road, and it handles well. 87 handling again. It is another one of those cars where, you know what, I fully upgraded. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. All right, moving on, the Ford Escort RS. Again, I think this is a pretty useful car. This was very useful in an event that we had recently. I'm pretty sure like earlier on in the week. Really good car as well. Low 0 to 60, handles okay, rear-wheel drive and off-road. I would still take my chances with the Zara kit car, just because like it's more useful in clubs. But then again, these two cars, they don't really compete in the same places because it's front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. I get that, but yeah, when it comes to rear-wheel drive off-roaders, I would still take things like the Lotus Exige or the Porsche Cayman. But that being said, that doesn't mean that the Ford Escort's a bad car. There are better options, cars that I would rank as their Kaiser. But the Ford Escort is still fantastic. Now moving on to the Legends. I mean, there's no fault here, guys. I think every single Legend is a home run. I think that they're all absolutely fantastic. Here's the thing about the Lancia Deltas. I genuinely think that they have withstood the test of time. They've been in the game for so freaking long at this point. Since 2019, maybe even 2018. They've been in the game for that long, like 6 years, 7 years, and they're still, you know, up there. They're not the best by any means. 85 handling and 86 handling for a four-wheel drive off-road nowadays isn't the greatest thing in the world, but if I wanted to add something, have a look at the Italian off-road meta, because that hasn't changed a lot. So if we go into country, we go into Italy, and then we go into, I think there's car attributes, look for off-road tires, all cars. It's still like the top 3, you know, it's only behind the prize car. It's on par, if not better than the Amalfi Cross Cruising of the Lancia Delta. I mean, this used to be an epic, for crying out loud. So yeah, I mean, this genuinely withstood the test of time. Although in a general sense, the Lancia Deltas are not the best four-wheel drive off-roaders you can think of. If you ever find yourself in an Italian off-road event and you don't have the Lancia Delta S4 Rally, you're pretty much screwed. And honestly, this is one of my weakest niches in all of Top Drives, Italian off-road, because these two cars have been in the game for so freaking long. I've never had the chance to unpack one of them, and I had a chance to win the Lancia Delta S4 Rally, but I didn't choose it. Do I regret that? Just a little bit, because I chose the SCG instead, because I really wanted, you know, to complete my American niche. But I gotta say, in terms of what car is way more useful, that Lancia trumps the Scuderia like tenfold. It's ridiculous. I don't even use my SCG at all. I mean, let's go into my cars. I'll give you a quick little look here. As you can see, oh, it's gone. As you can see, SCG, I've only used it 367 times. I mean, to be fair, that's more than I expected. I thought that this was going to be like double digits. But if I had the Lancia Delta, I'd be using that like probably in 4-digit numbers, like 1,000 times probably by now. But anyway, guys, let's open the pack. I do want to open one of these packs. I want to give myself a shot at the Lancia. I don't know, man. If I'm not getting it in 7 years, who says I'm going to get it today? But anyway, let's give it a try. I think the pack is worth upgrading. They're a lot worth opening. There are a lot of bangers in here. Cars I'm genuinely looking forward for are going to be things like the Saxo, another Felicia, because I only have one Felicia, a Zara kit car. I would max that right now, like literally. These are some of the really, really good ones that you really want to get. These are cars that will withstand the test of time. They're the best in their niche. They're very useful. They're cash cows, all that kind of stuff. All right, Citroen Visa Chrono. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Got the worst car. Like there are not a lot of terrible cars. There are 2 that I ranked in the bottom. Yeah. Okay, well, it's a good pack. I mean, as long as you don't have my kind of luck, I think you should. I'm not ending on that BS, bro. I'm gonna open one more. I'm gonna open one more. I do not want to open. I don't want to end on that BS, bro. That was so bad. That was so bad. Come on, man. If you give me another size center, then that's it, man. Okay, at least it's double ultra rare. I'll take that. So I got a Ford Sierra RS500. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. All right, sure. I'll take that. That's better than the size center. Hope you guys have a great day. We're gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.